All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Theory and Theology. If you're into free books, specifically free Jewish textbooks, religious Jewish textbooks, check out this website. It's called Sefaria.org. Sefaria.org. Sefaria. Sefaria. Sefaria.org. So on there, you can browse their library, and they basically have a free copy of the Tanakh, the Mishnah, the Talmud, Midrash, Halakha, Kabbalah, liturgy, Jewish thought, Tosefta, Hasidut, Musar, Responsa, Second Temple works, and then I guess they have like a reference. So they say Sefaria is home to 3,000 years of Jewish texts. We are a non-profit organization offering free access to texts, translations, and commentary so that everyone can participate in the ongoing process of studying, interpreting, and creating Torah. If you go to learn more, you can learn more about their website, Library of Torah Text Online. I'm not going to read all that. But it's a pretty easy site, pretty basic, as far as how to browse. Their menu on the site has text. It has like a hashtag symbol for topics, community, learning schedules, collections, about Sefaria, and it has an English and Hebrew option for the website when you're reading on the website itself, and then it has a Get Help link. So I've talked about this before, but just in general, I'm going to go through this real quick. I would like it to be quick, but there's kind of a lot of information here. So I'm just going to read what it says for Tanakh. We know that Tanakh stands for, the T sound, the N sound, the KH sound. Torah, prophets, and writings, or in Hebrew, that would be Torah, which is the T part. Nevi'im, which means prophets, which is the N part, and then KH, Ketuvim, which means writings, which is the KH sound part. It's kind of like is that considered an acronym? I mean, I don't know what you would consider it. But yeah, that's basically the Hebrew Bible, and it says Judaism's foundational text. So that's the Old Testament. And let me see. So they have it. I'm trying to see if it has it in English or what's the language. Okay, so they have it in Hebrew, and so Hebrew text with the vowels, with the ta'amim for those cantillation marks, and then it has the English translation, and it goes verse by verse, Hebrew English, Hebrew English, Hebrew English, verse by verse. So that's really cool, especially if you're learning. It's from the Contemporary Torah JPS version. So the English part is JPS translation, or version. I don't know what people call it. But, Bibles have different translations. So that's cool. Then it goes into, there's the option to read the Mishnah. It says, first major works of rabbinic literature compiled around 200 Common Era, or for the AD people, that would be 200 AD, documenting a multiplicity of legal opinions in the oral tradition. So it has the Mishnah. You can read it in Hebrew with the translation in English, and it's got some commentary in there too, some bold and non-bold, and some italicized wording to determine if you're reading a translation of text or a commentary on the text. It's all just kind of interweaved in there. I'm looking at the mobile version, by the way. It might look different on a desktop. Let's see. It has the Talmud. The Talmud is kind of hard to find online for free. This one has the text. So it has English in here too. That's pretty cool. It's hard to find the Talmud with English in it online. You can get a Hebrew Talmud. It's like multiple books, physical books, large physical books. But you can buy the full Talmud, series, book by book. And I think it's considered a 7-year process to read through it on a typical daily schedule of 1 page a day. I think that's what I heard. And it's basically, you basically can get it with the, it's always got the Hebrew. So it's either Hebrew with the translation, with the commentary and interpretive kind of information also in Hebrew, or it's the Hebrew page of Daf, like the actual page, with English interpretations. This one has the Hebrew text, and then it has English writing. It tells you if you're reading the part that's from the Mishnah, or what the rabbis say, or which rabbi is saying what commentary on that passage. But it's broken up with the Hebrew first and then the English part. And it has what it says with Gemara and everything. So it's not organized in the same way that it is organized in the actual physical Talmud book, because it's, if it's a what do you call it? It's a mobile version website, so you're just kind of reading it top to bottom and scrolling. It doesn't have the same layout that the Talmud has, with the text in the middle and then surrounding text on the outside. It doesn't have that. Same with the Tanakh. It doesn't have the same layout of a scroll, or the same layout of if you were actually reading JPS with the column, the full column on one side and then the English column on the other side, or a Chumash that has the whole Hebrew text on one page on the right, and then on the left it has the English. It doesn't have it that way. It's just verse by verse or section by section, and then the Hebrew, and then translated in English. I think the Talmud actually is Aramaic as well, I believe, or maybe primarily Aramaic. So it says Midrash. So the Midrash is a form of literature that interprets and elaborates upon biblical texts, mostly compiled from the 5th century CE through the medieval period. Books in this category generally share common methods of interpretation, like filling in gaps in biblical stories. Sections of Midrash appear frequently throughout the Talmud. It's interesting too to mention, like, I was watching this series by this rabbi online. He goes by Henry. Let me see. What's this dude's name? Trying to get to my history. Henry, where are you, buddy? Let's see. All right. Henry Abramson. He's a Jewish historian, and he has a really great YouTube channel. A lot of very free, awesome content about Jewish history. He has a part that talks about the Midrash. He has a part that talks about the Mishnah. It talks about the Talmud. It talks about even parts of like the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Essenes, and their history, and then the history of the rabbinical tradition, and the history of when the Torah became kind of, they chose which books were going to be in the actual Tanakh, and also has a bit about history of Christianity, because it's still part of Jewish history. I really like the way he laid out the parts about, like, how it was when the early Christians were technically Jews, and what types of Jews existed. Christians were a type of Jew early back then. And then kind of the history of, like, the Roman rulers and all these wars and all this different kind of stuff. Like, I really liked the way the history was laid out. So it's kind of interesting. Like, he's the one who mentioned this online Sefaria website, and then I was scrolling through it just live now, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Because I was just listening to like hours worth of him just talking about history, like probably like 4 hours this morning. Like after breakfast up until almost lunchtime, I was listening to a lot of his history videos, and like they're cool to watch too. Like they have, they're not like boring PowerPoint slides. Like he has himself in one corner of the screen, and then in the background there's like a whole like slide. It doesn't have like, it's not super wordy slide. He does more talking and has like a little bit of like comments written on the screen, and then otherwise it's like a lot of cool artwork, from painters in history. That's cool, and a lot of cool like pictures of like artifacts and like coins of certain time periods, and just like some of the pictures are modern to represent like certain topics, like rabbis or something, and then like it has like modern day looking pictures, but it also has like some pictures of like the ancient things that he's like talking about with Jewish history. It's a lot of basically world history from how the Jews got to where they're at now, and basically like the history even before Jesus' time, and how things got to the place where there's actual like physical books like this. There weren't always those books like that. It was like there were scrolls and stuff, but like there were different types of scrolls that didn't really make it into the Tanakh, that didn't make it into the Old Testament, as like, just like with the Christian New Testament, there are books that didn't make it. There's the Apocrypha. Like, it even talks about the history of like the Maccabean revolt and how that's a book in the Apocrypha. And just a lot of different topics. Very well delivered. I really like his content. It's very like historical based. I was actually pretty surprised about the way he talked about Christianity when it was coming in to the picture. I really liked the way he talked about it, because it was really just from the historical perspectives. It wasn't really like from like a cultural, traditional kind of view that we normally get about what one people says about another people. It was very like history based, and it just flows so well together. I'm really impressed. Like, that's going to be one of my go-to sites until I'm probably going to get through all the content on that site eventually. Like, it's really very well made. And I think he's still posting stuff too. And he has some series that I think you can pay $1.99 for those series. And I think it's worth it. It's like a class basically. Like, and his videos are like short, straight to the point. That's something I noticed I have a problem with. He doesn't go way off topic. Like, he has a way of like stopping himself and saying how this is relevant, but then how like he'll save it for another video, and then he just moves on with the same topic instead of going off on a tangent like I do. I'm just kind of like, well, I'm veering over here now. All right, and I'm not gonna read all of this, but it has Kabbalah in here too. Let's see. The explanation: mystical works addressing topics like God's attributes and the relationship between God's I've never seen that word. God's eternality and the finite universe. So I'm not going to go through all of this. You can check out the site yourself, Sefaria.org. It's really cool, though. And also, I would recommend checking out Henry Abramson's Jewish history YouTube channel. It's really cool. I find it cool. I really like that kind of stuff. Like, it's a lot of information, too, but it's not, like, so complex that you can't understand it. But it is a lot of information. Like, some of it I know, like, bits and pieces, but like when it comes, I like to look at like the periods of dates of things and kind of think about, okay, what was going on in the Bible during the time when this was happening. Like, was Jesus alive during this time, or was he not alive during this time? Was Paul alive during this time? Was like Nahum or Malachi or like whatever, like which prophets were living during this wartime, or what was going on in the Bible during the time of like these historical things going on. And he does talk a lot about like Josephus' writings and stuff too. And all right, so let me end this here. Check it out. Check out those resources if they interest you. You'll probably find them, at the very least, entertaining or resourceful, educational. Alrighty. Thanks for listening.